everyone doing? Welcome back for another episode of Throw the Brick Radio. I'm pumped for this episode. I know Logan is. This is episode 2 of Throw the Brick Radio. I'm Jan Rosenberg.
I'm Logan Sears. Today we have on two-time Michigan State placer, three-time Club All-American and Club National Finalist, and current University of Dubuque wrestler Brendan Hazelton.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Pretty pumped.
Yeah, so Brandon's just finishing up his wrestling career this year at Dubuque. I'm just kind of asking everyone, how did you start wrestling? Bring me all the way back to square one.
Square one. So 6th grade, I was probably about 4 foot tall. I weighed 70 pounds. I was a little guy. I played sports my whole life, football, baseball, basketball, that. And I was not growing. I was just a tiny little squirt running around the halls. And I needed something that fit my body pretty much. Like I wasn't getting big enough to play the sports, or if I was getting hit in football, I was getting cracked. Like I was broken. I played one game. I was like, all right, I'm good. Can't be doing this anymore. And my cousin, Andrew Shute, wrestled for the University of Buffalo. He was an NCAA Division I qualifier. He was sick in high school. Like he ran Michigan wrestling for a little bit. He took third, first, third. And the year he took first was the year my first wrestling match I ever saw in my life. I was in 5th grade going into 6th grade. And it's at the Palace of Auburn Hills, which is like this huge stadium. It's where the Pistons played. And there's 4 mats. Everyone's watching it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, this is a big deal, you know? And my cousins wrestled state finals against a kid who's taken second 3 times. So this is kid's senior year. They're wrestling. And my cousin's down by 1 with 30 seconds to go. And I don't really understand the point concept here at all because, I'm like brand new to this. And my cousin's on bottom. He stands up. The kid drops to a single leg, right? I'll never forget this moment till the day I die. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it, actually. It's pretty cool. He drops down to a single leg, picks it up in the air, and my cousin just does a backflip. Right off a high. The guy's got a single, does a backflip right into a double leg, takes him down to win a state title. It was the coolest thing ever. The Palace erupted. I'll never forget that moment. Right then and there, I looked at my dad. I was like, dude, I want to do that. Like, I want to try that out. So that's how I started wrestling. Started wrestling for my uncle, who ran a pretty successful youth program out here in Michigan. And then, just kind of met some people along the way, met some good connections, started wrestling over the summertime. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got started.
So you started wrestling in 7th grade or 6th grade?
6th grade. Yeah.
And then you wrestled for the middle school team?
Middle school team. And then travel, like it was like a local club team, I guess. Yeah.
I probably should have learned from you because I did it the opposite. I started wrestling young and wanted to play football as a little 60-pounder. And I got cracked running the ball. Never again did I want to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
So then were you a 103 your freshman year of high school then?
Technically, yeah. So I was 88 pounds I weighed in. It was the heaviest I weighed in with my backpack and everything on my freshman year. And I was mediocre. I was tiny. I was just, a tiny little guy. I was mediocre. I was like 24 and like 17. I was getting pinned a lot because there's just no way I could, hang with these guys. But it was the best high school team I've wrestled on, like for my school wise. We were really good. Yeah, I was a little guy.
And then, so you're a 2-time state placer, so 3-time state qualifier. So obviously something changed from your freshman year, sophomore year. What was that?
Yeah, so I ended up hitting a little mini growth spurt, and I started walking around at like 105, 104 area. And in the beginning of that year, I was still not really like, I wasn't a good wrestler yet. And I was still getting tech followed by the kids and stuff. And something just switched halfway through the season in my workout, like my ethics. I don't know, something in my mind, my mental just switched. And I started beating the kids that were teching me and whatnot, and just got on a roll. Carried it all the way to states, ended up losing in the blood round.
Then junior year, state placer.
Yep, junior year took 5th. That was when I just carried the momentum from my sophomore year, started knocking off some good guys that summer going into junior year. Because I was really big into the rankings like any other high schooler was, checking it every weekend to see who's ranked and whatnot. And then I noticed I started taking off some names on the list. And I was like, okay, starting to belong. I ended up taking 5th. And then my senior year really picked up.
So your state finalist senior year, what was your state finals match like?
It was everything. I mean, I obviously wish it would have went a different way, but I soaked it all in. It was super cool. Running out of the tunnel, looking up. Thousands and thousands of people watching. There's only 4 mats down there. And I know I'm wrestling a kid who's a dog. And Noah Gonzer wrestled at Campbell for Kerry Colat. Very, very tough dude. He was cutting down. He cut a crap load of weight to make 119 because Ben Freeman was actually at the weight above. He's a 4-time state champ, wrestles for Michigan. Cut down in my weight. And I was like, all right. And luckily, I actually had a nice side of the bracket too. Benny Gomez was a JUCO champ. He was in my weight that year too. And Noah and him fell on the same side, which was it was perfect.
So you lose in the state finals. Is it close?
It was close. So first period, scrambled our butts off. He ends up taking me down 2-0. Second period, he goes down. I end up locking a cradle on him. And if I would have just been patient and took him back, I probably would have collected maybe a pin or a lot more near fall. I ended up rolling through more of like a suicide cradle, got a 2 count, and then he ended up reversing me in that period, made it 4-2. I went on bottom, and he just rode the crap out of me forever. Ended up going for a big move at the end. He turned me for 3 more points right at the end of the match.
And I gotta ask, so the cement mixer, was that something that college Brendan Hazelton developed, or were you using that in high school?
No, it was locked and loaded in that match, and I didn't rip it. So if you've ever seen me wrestle in college, I am not afraid to pull the trigger anymore, and that's why. That's why. I look back and I watched my state finals match. I got it locked and loaded, and I didn't go for it. I was too scared. So I learned my lesson.
So I'm going to kind of walk you a little forward now. Growing up on the East Coast, there's not much of like club wrestling. I know Grand Valley State, like kind of looking into the programs, a pretty historic level club wrestling. But walk me through that decision of deciding to go to a club route instead of maybe the NCAA route right away. And then give me a little bit of the experience you had there, considering it was a top level program. Not what your average person thinks when you think club wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a good question. So coming right out of high school, I didn't want to wrestle in college. Actually, I was content with my career being done. State finalist. I was ready to go on, do my own thing in college. I was going to go to Michigan State, good old Lansing. Actually, that's where I was headed. And I got a few letters from a couple D3 schools, Alma, Michigan, Alma. They're a pretty solid team. A few other schools, and I wasn't really feeling, wrestling again. I just didn't want to go through the grind again. I just wanted to kind of, do my own thing. And Grand Valley hit me up, and they're a very, very nice, brand new school in Michigan. Pretty big too. They had 22,000 students for a Division II school. And something about that, I went on a visit, and I didn't even know they really had a wrestling team, when I was looking at them for school. And I was looking, and the club head coach, Rick Bullheis, hands down, great guy, stud wrestler too, 3-time runner-up in club and a national champion. He's very legit. Hit me up, and while I was on a tour, I met him, found out what the program was about, and like you said, very historical program. They have pretty much every record in the club for national titles, national champions, national placers. Pretty much historically, they run it.
For people that don't know, Grand Valley State has Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee, who are current UFC fighters. So, I mean, pretty big name program.
Yeah, yep. Tony Ferguson's very committed to GVSU. He's very proud to be a Laker. But very historic. So I get there. Coach shows me on a tour, and I was like, all right, this is where I want to go to school. And the fact that it was a club sport meant that I didn't have all that weight on my shoulders, because I feel like from an NCAA to a club sport, the coaches are a lot more lenient with you. It's not as much of a job, it's not as much of a grind as it is. You get a little more leeway on how much you want to commit yourself to the sport. I really liked that about it. So I ended up going there, and I didn't know how good our team was going to be until about the first couple weeks of training. And we're starting to get these guys in, coming in. We got 2 D1 transfers came in to our school, or to GVSU, to wrestle for us that year. And Austin Gearlings wrestled at Eastern Michigan when they had a program. He's a stud. And then a kid named Mitch Herniak, he wrestled for Central Michigan. He's a 41-pounder there. So we had 2 D1 transfers and about 4 or 5 state finalists from the state of Michigan that year on the team. And then halfway through the year, we had a transfer in the name of Zachary Cooper, the inventor of Team Chub Chub. He wrestles Division III for Alma. He took 5th last year, I want to say, at Nationals at 41 as the 2 seed. Very legit. He came in, and right then and there, I realized, okay, we got something special here. First year there, we're doing great as a team. We go to Team Nationals out in Georgia, and we're tearing people apart. Liberty is a Division I school out there, a fully funded club program. They're a Division I team, fully funded. They get scholarships, the whole 9, and they wrestle club still. And we take them down, and then Emmanuel College, I'm pretty sure they went to the leap to NAIA or Division II. Okay. I'm not sure. We ended up taking them out too, and they were a stud program. They went NAIA the next year. And then we wrestled Central Florida, and their team was loaded. Do you know the name Jordan Spieler?
Yeah, he's a Greco guy.
Yeah, he wrestled for them that year, and their team was loaded. And we ended up losing to them by 1 in the team national finals. And then you carry the team national points, like by which you place, to the individual tournament. And we ended up losing to them in the team points there by 1 point again. So our team took 2nd. And in club, you could take 2 guys per weight to the national tournament. So I think we had like 14 or 15 qualifiers there and 11 placers, because we have a 235-pound weight class too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So first year there was great. I wrestled 25. I ended up taking 6th in the country as a 2 seed, which kind of hurt, but I was enjoying it. It was down in Kissimmee, Florida. And yeah, it was a great way to learn from, because we had the D1 guys that came over really showed me, like, hey, it is a club sport, but we're going to make you treat it like it's it's your job, So it was a good setup.
So you take 6th out of the 2 seed. So you had already had a pretty successful season right out of the gate as a freshman.
Yeah. I had a very good start. I placed at a few Division III tournaments in Michigan as a freshman. I placed at the Alma Open, few of those, and then I won my conference. And at Team Nationals, I went on a tear, and I went like 6-0 or something like that there, and that's what got me a good seed at the national tournament.
Just walk me through the remainder of your career, like at Grand Valley State. Like, what changes did you make, that kind of stuff, mentally to kind of continue to push yourself through?
So yeah, after my freshman year, I realized, okay, it might be called a club sport, but it's at Grand Valley, it's really not. They take it like it's a full team. And the one thing I learned through that, I thought I was pretty good coming in as a state finalist. I was like, I'm going to tear everyone apart in club. I did have a couple losses. I had 4 or 5 losses my freshman year. And, after that, I realized, okay, well, can't just sit back and take this easy. I actually got to put effort into it. It's a sport of wrestling. If you take practice light or any days off, you'll feel it in your matches. So that's the one thing I took away. And then my sophomore year, I picked up a lot more responsibility as we had graduated a lot of our returning All-Americans. And this actually, my sophomore year at college, sparked the weight cutting of my career. I bumped up. I wrestled 25 as a freshman, and then I came in my sophomore year at college at like 142 pounds. And I had it set in my mind, I'm going 25 again. going 25. And this is like, I guess I relate this as like the worst part of my career because of the way I felt about the sport. I was cutting weight like a complete idiot, not drinking water at all, having one meal a day, running laps after laps after laps, like with no water or anything in my system. Like, just did it so terribly. I know I'm going to feel it down the road in my life. Like, it was not enjoyable. I was cutting way too much weight. I really wasn't having that fun, but I was putting out results and our team was doing good, and I'm doing really well, taking out some good guys. And we end up taking third at the team national tournament. And going into the individual tournament, I was dead set on I'm a national champion. Like, my mental was there. I was ready. I was feeling confident. I go in as a 2 seed again, I want to say. Or no, I go in as a 1 seed, I think, my sophomore year. I go in as a 1 seed, and I make it to the quarterfinals. And I'm wrestling a kid from Air Force, Anthony DeCesar, I want to say it is. He ended up wrestling for Air Force's Division I team the next year. I think he's a 2-time Ohio State runner-up, state in high school. And I lose 1-0 to him in the quarterfinals off a riding time point. And I was going through all the emotions. Like you guys know, if you lose a big match like that, everything starts going through your head. Why did I do it? Why did I stick it out? I end up coming back, taking 4th that year. And then he ended up winning it. And I remember specifically sitting down, taking off my Nike Freaks and writing the date on the shoes. I was like, all right, I'm hanging them up. I'm done. I gave it everything I had. I was cutting weight like crazy. I was putting in the time. I'm done. So after that season, going into my junior year of college, I didn't come out for the wrestling team the first semester. I did my own thing, expanded my social life and whatnot, traveled around to see my friends at all their colleges and whatnot. And some things started not going my way, I guess you could say, as far as my social life was going. My roommates were getting in some trouble and whatnot, and one thing led to another, and I bounced back to the great sport of wrestling. I figured I needed to keep that. That was what was keeping a good head on my shoulders, like keeping me level, keeping me motivated. So I came back second semester, and my head really wasn't screwed on tight. I was, just coming into practice, like, late. I wasn't there for my team. I wasn't as dedicated as I should have been, as coming back as a captain and whatnot. And I did okay. My first tournament back, my first tournament coming in, I remember I just tried to pin everyone as fast as I could because I was gassed after like a minute. And I ended up pinning what was the future national champion and runner-up at my weight that year in the same tournament, my first tournament back. Long story short, go to that national tournament, and I go 1-2. Out the tournament, didn't place. I was done. That was 133. I was only cutting like 7 pounds, 8 pounds. So walking around at 40. And I wasn't there mentally. I didn't have the mindset to like, okay, I want this, I need this, or I didn't have the I guess mental toughness to stay home, like stay home on a Thursday night. When we're wrestling Saturday, I would go out, do my own thing, and I wasn't dedicated. And that's just a show. I'm a 2-time All-American, and then I go in and I go 1-2. I was like, okay, wrestling's not one of those sports where you can just take some time off and then hop back in. It's not. I learned that the hard way. So,
and then do you think that's why you went 133? Was just that lifestyle change? You didn't want to start cutting weight again?
Yeah, I told myself I was never going to cut weight again. I was like, I can't do it after making 25. And then, after going 1-2 at a tournament that you placed at and you beat the national champion and runner-up, you're not going to stop there. You have to redeem yourself. So I ended up getting a little bit bigger over the summer. I found out what the weight room was. That was kind of cool. And then I went 33 the next year, and I was only cutting 12, 11 pounds, not bad at all. And I was dedicated. I went the whole year of, hitting 2 days every day, running my team through. I pretty much ran our practices at this point. Our head coach was going through a time. So I kind of took on the role of a coach as well, and really dedicated myself to finishing out my wrestling career the way I wanted it to, and filling that void of losing in the state finals. Going 1-2. I just want to be able to hold up the number ones. And I was doing great. I think I was 30-0 going into the team national tournament, doing great. Team nationals was in Vegas. That was really cool. And I wipe out the 2-3-4 kids ranked below me. In big fashion. I think I majored 2 of them and I pinned the other one. Go to the national tournament, and I pinned my first 3 kids in under, collective total, it was under 2 minutes. I pinned my first kid in 30 seconds, then it was 12 and 16 seconds the next kid. So I was feeling really confident going in.
All from a front headlock?
2 of them were from mixers. 2 of them were from mixers. The other one was from an inside trip. But so then I go in my semifinals match, and wrestling a kid I had not seen in club before, from Springfield Tech, and he's just a short, stocky, athletic guy. And just remember going in there, I was like, all right, semis, I got to make to the finals. This is it. And it turned out to be my favorite match of my career. I end up winning I go for 2 monster throws, and he takes me down with them. And we're in the 3rd period. I went for a monster headlock, and he took me down with 30 seconds to go. He's up by 1. I get up, Matt returns me. I get up again. He goes for this short sit, or trip kind of. And I just fall on top of him, put him to his back, end up winning 10-5 because of the back points and whatnot. And that was my favorite match. I knew I was going in. I had a kid that I just majored 2 weeks before in the finals. I majored him 12-3. I was like, all right, I got this kid. I'm getting this. I'm getting it. And, this is where I credit, guys that persevere through mental toughness, because when you're going into a big match like this, your mind is just, it's going nuts. You have to keep yourself calm, cool, and collected. I give guys like Dake, Taylor, those guys so much credit because they keep it so cool, calm, and collected. I want to know what was going through Kyle Dake's mind when he won his 4th title. He's like, all right, because I was going in on my first one, not knowing what to think. And he's just, all right, just another match. That's why I think sport wrestling is so great, because that is so much pressure and so much. It was just pressure and just excitement and nervousness all bundled up into just one, it was crazy. It was so, and it's on the stage too, that you, and all that, and all the hype, gets to you. And I just feel so I guess I'm kind of making up for what happens in the finals. I get to the finals, go up on the stage, I'm all hyped. I secure the first takedown. He ends up getting an escape. Match goes on. There's a lot of things that ended up happening, but one thing too, I was I was up by 1 with 15 seconds to go. Yeah, about 15 seconds to go. I had a stall call on me, and something just triggered in my head and just blocked all motor functions for a second. I don't know what it was. It's 15 seconds. Me and my dad, we've rewatched the match one time, and we're like, that is the worst I've ever seen you wrestle in that 15 seconds in your whole career. Something shut down. All the excitement, all the nervousness, everything that I had just shut my body down. I'm standing there like a robot. I didn't know what to do. He shot in on my legs, and I just kind of went to rip him back. I don't know what I was thinking. I blacked out for a second. Ends up taking me down with, 7 seconds to go to win the national final. And a bit of a heartbreaker, but the one thing I can say is I gave that season 100% about everything I had. And as a future coach and whatnot, the one thing I'm going to tell my athletes is, hey, if you give everything your 100% chance, everything you got, there's nothing you can regret. So that's how I look back on my Grand Valley career. I ended it with everything that I had, gave it all I got.
And then at this point, you're done wrestling. You're never competing again.
Yeah, at this point, I was telling, I had told all my friends, back home after my sophomore year, I was like, I'm never wrestling again. I'm done. Shoes are up. And then I wrestled junior year. And then I was like, all right, I have to wrestle my senior year. And then I was like, all right, now I'm officially done. I'm all out of eligibility. Like, I'm actually done with the sport. Shoes are up.
So your social life increases.
Yeah, social life increases. I'm out, not really living the wrestler lifestyle that summer. Just kind of, I'm done. I'm retired. I'm washed up now. It's time to start coaching. And
yeah,
I go back to Grand Valley State to finish up my degree. I was going to start my student teaching and whatnot. And I move into my house. I was actually going to help coach the club team at Grand Valley that year. And I'm a weekend of living, welcome week's done. I'm about like 3 days into classes and I get a phone call. And it shows up on my phone as like, you guys ever get those crank calls or like the audio, like the robots that'll call you and they'll be like, your insurance, like that. So I answer it, I'm like, eh, like that, just to see like, if it was a robot or not. And it's Coach Sanger from the University of Dubuque. And he's like, hello? Like, Brendan Hazelton? I'm like, oh, yeah. I'm like, hello? Like, who is this? Lets me know he's one of the coaches at the University of Dubuque. I was like, where? What's that? Where's that at? Okay. Told me that he was interested if I was interested in wrestling next year. And I was like, I would love to, but can't. Like, my eligibility's done. He goes, let me call you back. I'm like, okay. So I walk up, and I'm living with 4 of the wrestlers that I wrestled previously. I'm like, guys, I just got a phone call from a guy in Iowa. Like, for what? To wrestle. Calls me back about an hour later. He's like, so we got you a year of eligibility. That was like an hour later. I was like, wow. Like, what? How does that work? Yeah, so he did. And to be honest, I was just playing with him. I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, sure. I'd think about it. I'd think about wrestling. I was not thinking about it. I was so done with wrestling. I was like, all right, I gave everything I got. I'm done. And, he kept calling me he called me like 4 times a day for 2 days straight, 3 days straight. Would not let me hear the end of it. End up making him happy. I'm like, all right, I'll fill out the application to go to this school. Like, that's the farthest I'm going to go. Fill out the application. And then I get a phone call. He's like, hey, what if we drive you out to come visit us tomorrow? Just come see it, check out the campus. And I was like, well, I don't want to go to class tomorrow. So it's like, yeah, why not? Sure. Why not? Drive out to Iowa on a whim. It was a Thursday. I drive out there and I meet Coach McGovern, Coach Hansen, Logan, and all the guys on the team. And I'm still thinking in my head, I'm like, dude, you're not going to Iowa to wrestle. Like, this is not happening. You're not going to do it. You're just here like.
Had you talked to your parents at this time yet?
A little bit. I was kind of hinting at it towards my mom. My dad was all about it. Like, he knew I was like not really taking it serious, but he was all about it. My mom was kind of sketching about it. I was like, Mom, I'm not going. Like, you have nothing to worry about. I just want to go check it out and see what it's like. Because to this day, like, I had never been a part of an NCAA team. And there's always that stigma, NCAA and then club. Everyone's that whole, notion of, NCAA is prestigious compared to, which it is, to mostly any other conference. But I was like, I want to go check it out, see what it's like. So I go the first night, I meet all the guys, end up staying in the dorms with Logan and all those guys. They thought I was a soccer player when I'm in there.
He was actually just sitting in our living room area, not talking to anybody. And I walked past and I just thought he was like another student or something.
Yeah. And so we, talked for a while that night. And then the next day, went in, I saw the wrestling room and all that. It was really cool. And I remember a little bit of a rewind. Before I drove down there, I remember looking at myself in the mirror one night and I was like, I got down in my stance. I was like, can you still do it? Like, can you still like move? Can you still bang? I don't know. And I was like, all right, do it. Send it out there. And then I go there, I check out the room, like, oh, this is nice. This is really nice. And then I start hearing about all these accolades that Coach McGovern, has accomplished throughout his career. I'm like, dude, this guy's the real deal. Like, he's legit. And then, Coach Hansen, legit. And hearing the guys in the team talk about their dedication level reminded me of what it was like my freshman year at Grand Valley. It reminded me just of that, and I kind of got those same feelings brought back. And I was like, oh, it's so cool. And this is where the story kind of goes crazy. So it's that Friday. They're meeting everybody, and I fill out all this, like, you know, housing stuff and, like, what my classes would be and whatnot. And I'm still thinking, I'm like, dude, you're not going here. Like, why are you doing this? And I'm doing it all. And Coach McGovern just sat me down and gave me one of his, you know, famous talks. And right then I was like, all right, that would be kind of cool. You know, if I could get a national title and academic All-American, put that on a resume, you know, all that and whatnot. And then I get the phone call from my mom, and she's like, hey, you realize that if you want to go to this school, you have to make the decision in like 3 hours, because my classes that I was registered for at Grand Valley, in order to get the 100% refund for that year, I needed to withdraw from my classes by a certain time. And it was 3 hours from that time. So I'm in Iowa.
Some crunch time decision making right there.
Yeah. So I'm in Iowa, and I'm like, what? Like, all right, now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, dude, should I do it? Like, should I not? You know, it's cheaper to go here, yeah, and I get to wrestle, and, you know, I get to do this whole thing over again. It'd be really cool. Like, I'm thinking, I'm driving home, and I'm just driving. You know, I'm going back to Michigan now. I'm just driving. I'm just looking at all the country. You know, I'm like, okay, this is happening. And I get a phone call from my dad, who had been out golfing in Lansing, actually, all day. He'd been golfing because his Spartans were playing. It was like, I think their first home tailgate day. My dad's there, and he calls me. He's like, hey, so you doing this or what, man? You know, like, are you wrestling again? And I hear all his buddies in the back. They're like, hell yeah, he's doing it. And I'm like, I don't know. And then my mom joins the call, and she's bawling her eyes out. She's crying. She's like, what are you doing? You know, like, what is happening? I'm like, sitting there, I'm like, I'm doing it. I'm going. I was like, I'm doing it. My mom, you know, withdraws from my classes for me, and I called Coach McGovern right away. I was like, all right, you got yourself a 33. I'm in.
And what's crazy about this is the first day that he came, I wrestled with him a little bit, and Coach had told me that he was a 133 pounder, and he had to have been about 5 pounds less than me.
Yeah, I was walking around at probably like 54.
This year, when I saw him step on the mat, I was like, there's no way that kid's a 33 pounder. Dude's massive. I'm like,
but it's so cool how it goes from my freshman year of being the pipsqueak, you know, of high school, and then, like, just being the Bill pipsqueak, and then all the way to my last year of college, and I'm like the big guy, you know, at the weight classes. It's just funny how that goes.
I got like a few questions just kind of based on your visit to Dubuque, a little bit kind of going back off Grand Valley. Like, on your way to wrestle for Dubuque, did you kind of realize that you were going to be wrestling in like the Big Ten of D3? Like,
I had no idea.
No idea.
I had no idea. I had no idea I was wrestling in the best conference in D3. Like, and I really wasn't that, like, I was pretty confident, you know, coming into D3. I was like, dude, I just ran through club, like, and I wrestled a lot of D3 kids while I was in club, because Grand Valley is, you know, a pretty good team. We wrestle mostly Division III teams, and I was doing very well. And I got out to this conference, and I was like, whoa, these guys are legit, like legit. Yeah, whole new world.
And then my second question, just kind of going back a little bit. I heard you kind of talk about that junior year, a little bit where your lifestyle kind of fell off. Similar kind of thing in my experience in college, maybe like right away, not really mature enough to kind of handle some certain situations in the beginning. Can you talk about the importance of academic, athletic, and lifestyle, how important keeping that stuff in line is to kind of be so successful your senior year?
That's everything. If you have a set schedule and a set, you know, mentality, that's going to increase your wrestling tenfold.
Definitely. So then you get to the University of Dubuque. What are your first days like, and then just go from there?
First days were mostly just kind of getting to know my new brothers, you know, my new family. I was going to a place where I didn't know a single person. You know, I'm in a state that I have never been to before. I'm the oldest guy on the team. I was going in, and I'm living in a freshman dorm with a bunch of 18, the freshmen. Like they're my little brother's age. And God, it was a trip. It was so cool. I had the dorm to myself, luckily, so that was pretty cool. And I'm meeting all the guys, and they're taking me to the football games. We're going bowling, working out in the room a little bit, just captain's practices. Getting back there, and I was like, oh, I'm actually like wrestling again, not coaching this practice. Okay, like getting into that kind of groove again. They showed me where Peters Commons was, and I ate a lot of food. And it's like, and I noticed, like, I sit down and I'm sitting next to two kids who just eat more than I've ever seen anyone eat in my entire life, like 10 eggs like per plate, and they're just going to town on this. I'm like, all right, I got to start eating a lot, and I got to start eating right to fit in here.
And I can only imagine those two people were Zarek Anderson and Jesse Diaz.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I just remember, meeting Coach McGovern and whatnot, and then like sitting us down in meetings and realizing, okay, I joined something that is pretty special. This is like, they are dedicated to win this year and show them that, show NCAA that they're not, what everyone thinks they are. We were a huge sleeper team. And I liked that a lot.
Definitely a tough team. So, I mean, you added some big value to that. So,
you didn't wrestle right away, did you?
No, I did not. That was another thing I wanted to show. I wanted to prove not only to myself but to these guys. I was like, hey, club wrestlers can bang, man. Like, I wanted to prove to them, and I wanted to prove to myself too, and prove the guys at Grand Valley, like, hey, we're not just club guys. We can compete in any division. And I come in and my weight was a little bit of an issue. We started lifting again, so I started putting on a lot of muscle. And I was walking around with probably like 150, like 152. And, we had to weight cert. And you didn't have to do that in club. You don't have to weight cert. So this is my first time doing it since I was a senior in high school. And I get on, and my first one says I can only get down to 134. Lowest I get down to. I was like, all right, I got to do it again. End up getting it, and it says I get down to like 32.8 by or was it? I want to say it was by the co tournament, or maybe the tournament before that. And yeah, so I missed the first two individual tournaments that we had, and which was fine because I'm getting pretty old now. Like in the room, I was in the trainer's office more than I ever was in my entire wrestling career. So yeah, my first tournament was the co-tournament.
How'd that go?
It went pretty well. I looked like a zombie at weigh-ins, that's for sure. It was my first time back at 33 since the national tournament the year before. But fueled up, got ready to go, put the right things back in me, and I had a pretty good draw right off the bat. I wrestled Simpson first match, and that was a pretty good match. And then I had a hammer my second match from Brock Henderson. I had no idea who he was. I just knew from looking at the rankings that he was on there. I had no idea about any of his accolades or anything. And I knew he was good too because Logan, right before my match, comes up to me. He's like, yo, who do you got? I go, Brock. And he like smiles and then looks down. And I was like, all right, sweet. So this guy's like legit.
Yeah, that dude's a hammer. So yeah,
he was really, really good. It was a tight match. I want to say it was like 3-0, a 3-0 match. It was very tight. And, emotions start flying. I got pretty hyped about that win. And then I wrestled a kid. I want to say he was a Division II kid from somewhere in Minnesota. It was like a purple school. I can't remember what it was. Mm-hmm. And he was pretty good. Yeah. I ended up pinning him in the finals, which was huge. It was really big confidence booster for me. My first actual tournament to show you guys, what I could really do, and I was pumped.
Yeah, I remember that particularly because, this new club guy's coming into our team and everybody's saying he's really good, but you beat a real good guy. You really proved it to us. That was our first time. We're like, okay, this kid is the real deal. Like, he's not just this club guy.
And then through then, you kind of look like had a pretty good season, even all the way through. Can you kind of walk us through just pretty, like, towards the end of your season, getting ready maybe for the national tournament qualifications, things like that? What was going
Yeah.
through your mind, how you felt, like that kind of stuff? Even maybe talk about the weight cutting aspect, like all that kind of stuff if you can.
Yeah. So, after the co-tournament, I was really on and off because of my weight. I'd wrestle like 2 weekends in a row, and then I would take a weekend off where they really didn't need me in the lineup, or if we really think we could, beat this team, or if it was an individual tournament, I feel like getting down to weight was tough. But I did it the right way every week. I had it down to a science. I was drinking perfect amount of water. I was drinking like 7 pounds of water every day. I was, eating right, eating well. I was working out 3 times a day. I was doing it the right way, which was really cool. The weight was just shedding off. And it had never been like that before. It was tough, to get down and whatnot, but it was easy. And then I want to say we start wrestling teams, and I had a few guys dodge me that I was really looking forward to wrestle, to get up in the rankings. And 2 kids, I want to say, one was from, I can't think of the school,
Concordia.
Concordia, yep. They
And
dodged
Wartburg.
me, and Wartburg dodged me. I was really looking forward for that match. They sent out their backup guys, I did pretty well against them. And yeah, like at the ARC duels, I wanted to wrestle Christian Rumpf, who was probably going to win the national title this year. He was very, very good. I was looking forward to that. Didn't wrestle me against him. We ended up beating Central that weekend, which put us on the map. That was really cool. And then, so we wrestled Loris a couple weeks later. I ended up losing a very tight match there. I was like 2-1. I gassed out hard in that match. Did not do the right things that week to get down to weight, and it really affected me. That's a tough team too. A really tough team that year. Ended up losing that, so I was like 11-1, and then we went to Chicago before that, and I had a few wins at 41 there that didn't really count towards our record. So like realistically, I was like 14-1 going into the conference tournament, and I was feeling comfortable. I was feeling really, really comfortable, and feeling comfortable going in. But there were a lot of kids in my conference that I didn't get to wrestle because they were either, dodging me, or I wasn't wrestling that weekend. And first match, I mixtured my kid, I'm pretty sure. And then my second match, I had the guy who beat me from Loris, and I went out there with a strategy that obviously didn't work out too well for me. I got sent flying. I got launched pretty good. I bounced back up, though. I was like, okay, you know what? Stuff like that happens in this sport. It's how you bounce back, And I remember I was looking at who I would have, and I had a returning All-American in Eron Haynes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very comfortable going into that match. I was like, you know what? I can beat this kid. I know I can. I know I can beat this kid. I was not worried. I stepped on the scale, and it's a 2-day weigh-in. Yeah, so I had to weigh 34 the next day. I stepped on the scale. I was like 144. So I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to work tonight. Like, I'm going to have to put in some effort. For the match, I'm burning. I got a good sweat before the match. So I was like, all right, I probably lost like 2 pounds just working out before my match. I'm good. Get in there. It was a heck of a match. I think it came out, it was like 10-10, and it came down to an error or a riding time error or something. I don't know exactly how it went down. He ended up catching like 16 seconds more of the riding time that he shouldn't have had, I guess. I don't know. It's the way it went down. He ended up getting the call. Took me out of the tournament, and he's a great wrestler. Is the way it went down. But I I was not upset with how my season went down that way. It was out of my control, you know.
That was one of my favorite matches in the whole tournament. There was a high-flying score match. I remember kind of sitting right up there, and I mean, that was just two guys duking it out. I mean, like you said, there was all of us kind of unsure of what was going on with the riding time situation. We were watching so many mats, but yeah, I mean, just being in your shoes, I've kind of had the same thing happen to me. My senior year, I took fourth in the region, didn't qualify. I was a returning All-American the year before. But kind of looking back the same way as you, knowing that you put everything in and did everything right, it's kind of hard to be upset about it and persevere, and it's good to bring forward to your next guys. My next question for me, this is probably my final question, and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to kind of ask you anyways. Looking into a crystal ball, knowing what happened with COVID-19, season being canceled towards the end, even if you had qualified looking into a ball, would you have made that decision to go to Dubuque, knowing that there's no possible happy ending per se, no matter what the situation was?
Yes, I would, and I would say that because of the experiences and times and the friendships and the family that the connections that I made there, and just the amount of good times I can say I had there was just it's the best decision I've ever made in my entire life. Hands down. And if anyone's listening and you're debating on if you want to wrestle in college or not, and you have the skill set and you're on the fence, just do it. Just do it. Take every year of eligibility you have and drain it to the last drop. Because believe it or not, I'm 23 years old. I'm not even a quarter of the way done with my life. I hope to live to like 100 and whatever, but I'm not even a quarter of the way done. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But I'm very happy that I drained every bit of my wrestling career, just got everything out of it. And there's no other way I'd rather have it.
My last final question, if you can take one thing that you learned from your wrestling career and pass it on forward now as a coach, like what would it be? Like maybe a good lesson or something that you had adversity through your career that you could pass on to help guys?
So like I touched up, the one thing I take away from the sport of wrestling is wrestling will punish you if you don't give it the respect it deserves. If you don't give wrestling the respect it deserves by eating right, not going out and partying, getting good night's sleep, loving your teammates, practicing hard, practicing tough, grinding through like a little injury, grinding through, something. Mental toughness will carry you. The one thing I'm going to instill in my high school wrestlers, or, if I get to a college level, is mental toughness will beat out a lot of really good kids. If you're mentally stronger than them and you have a couple good moves and a good tank, you're going to take down a lot of good people. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I'm going to take away from the sport of wrestling is I'm so thankful it made me as mentally tough as I am now.
No, I love that, man. That's just going to push you forward, too. You can use it in everyday life, so.
Yep. Once you've wrestled, everything else in life is easier, right?
Absolutely. Well, man, it was a pleasure having you on. I learned a lot, and that's what I love about this. I'm going to learn a lot from a lot of good people, so.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was really fun. It was really cool. I look forward to watching a lot more episodes.